What's up guys, this is SuperTal3 and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be going over my custom Linux distribution, why I use it, and why I have switched my workflow over from Windows to Linux for the most part. Now we're going to jump on the computer so we can take a look at my custom Linux distribution. Alright everyone, so here we are at my custom Linux distribution, and I'm going to show you around and give you a tour pretty much of my distribution and why I chose this, why I have it configured the way I have it configured, and how much of my workflow has moved from Windows to Linux and why I moved it from Windows to Linux. So right off the bat, you can see I have the KDE desktop. I've customized it a little bit with Latte Dock down here to have my applications on. I have a macOS icon theme and my console as the terminal. ZSH is my terminal emulator thing. I really like ZSH. I like it a bit better than Bash, just the way it looks. I have Oh My ZSH installed with the Robbie Russell theme for the little terminal prompt. In the bar up here, you can see I have a global menu. I have my applications menu, which is a full screen applications menu, and just a little system tray, etc. I have the Nord theme, Nordic, for the Plasma theme and the console theme. I've just been really getting into the Nord theme lately, and Nordic is pretty much Nord, but it's just the cohesive Plasma package for that. So I've been using that lately. I really like it. I like the wallpaper that comes with it, which is the one you can see right here. I'm starting to really appreciate the aesthetic of macOS in a way. I mean, I have my Linux distribution themed a bit differently, but overall it's a lot like macOS. I have the little buttons for this on the left side, and I have the global menu up here along with the icons down below, and the icons are similar to macOS icons. Now the reason I have the global menu especially up here, one of the big reasons for it is I like how minimalistic the actual desktop interface is of any application that you're using whenever you have the global menu up there, because it's just up here. Instead of having file, edit, view, bookmark, settings, help up here, it's just all up there, really nice and clean. Helps keep things a bit cleaner when I'm using it, and kind of declutters my area. So yeah, that's pretty much the main tour. All this is running on Manjaro, which is an Arch-based distribution. I know a lot of people will be like, oh no, you should just use plain stock Arch, and I get what you're saying. I've used plain stock Arch before for a very long time, probably about a year now, in fact, and I really enjoy it, but I switched over to Manjaro just because of the ease of install on my different machines and some of the tools that come bundled with it. So as you can see right here, we have some things like the hardware configuration utility. It makes it really easy to see what drivers I have installed for my Wi-Fi and Bluetooth card, as well as for my video card, which is the GeForce GTX 1066GB card by NVIDIA. Also, there's the kernel utility, which allows me to quickly switch between kernels. A few other things like keyboard settings, locale, time and date, user accounts, etc. So it just makes it really easy to switch between everything, and it offers a bit more sort of customization, even though I don't have, even though it is Manjaro, so it's using some of Manjaro's packages. I've also added the Black Arch repository. So if we do sudo pacman-sy, put my password in, you can see that I have the core, extra, community, and multi-web repositories, and then also the Black Arch repository added. Black Arch has about 20,000 different pen testing tools, so I really like to use that for penetration testing, as I can just do sudo pacman-s, whatever tool name I need, and it's probably in there, and if not, I can just go get it off GitHub, but most of the time it is in there. Just because they have so many tools. Also, their community is really friendly about answering questions that you might have or any errors that come up along the way. They do recommend not to use Manjaro and to use it with Arch, but I found it to work fine with Manjaro so far, and so I've stuck with that. Some plans in the future that I plan to expand on: I've used i3 Window Manager, the tiling window manager, one of the most popular ones in the past for a good while, and I really like it, and in the future I plan to expand and have that also on my system. I just don't use it currently, as I find using KDE Plasma is just as enjoyable, and the only time I really need the tiling feature of i3 is whenever I have to tile my terminal, and I can use tmux for that. So it's not really too much of an issue not using i3, although I did really enjoy it when I did use it. So now I'm pretty much done showing you guys around my distribution. Now I'm gonna hop on over back to the main camera and talk to you guys about why I switched my workflow over from Windows to Linux. Alright everyone, so now that you've seen my the computer side of things and what I've actually done with my Linux distribution, I'm going to cover why exactly I chose to move most of my workflow from Windows to Linux. So first, before I cover exactly the reason why, I'm going to let you guys know what parts of my workflow I moved from Windows to Linux. The main part of my workflow that I really have left on Windows is editing. Now I edit with DaVinci Resolve, which can be used on Linux. It's recommended to use it with CentOS or Red Hat, but it can be used with Arch Linux, and there's actually a package in the AUR that makes it really easy to use with Arch Linux. I haven't tried that on this distribution yet, and I'll let you guys know how that turns out on my Twitter at SuperTal3. Also, I post updates to the channel rather frequently there, so go follow me on Twitter at SuperTal3 for updates and when I'm posting videos and maybe some hints as to what they're going to be about or just other things that are going on. The part of my workflow that I did move over is pretty much all of the programming and hacking portions of my work. Now, I pretty much hacked only on Linux exclusively. I never really used Windows or Windows subsystem for Linux, as it wasn't really compatible before with the OpenVPN required for Hack the Box. It didn't work very well with it, and it works a lot better on native Linux. Also, I'm not a huge fan of running everything in VMs. I just don't like that. I'd rather run it on natively on the hardware. I just enjoy it a bit better that way, even though my machine is really great for running VMs because it has 12 cores or 16 threads and 64 gigs of RAM, etc. But that also means that my native Linux is never going to run out of RAM or anything like that. Now, the main reason that I moved a lot of my stuff over from Windows to Linux is because yesterday I was going to start coding for this video that I plan to make for you guys soon. Can't exactly say what it's about, but it's using Python, so stay tuned for that. In fact, that's a really good reason to subscribe to the channel. Hit the red subscribe button and hit the notifications bell icon so that you're notified when I post that video. It's probably not going to be the next video, but it's going to be probably the one after that, because the next video also have a special certification review for you guys coming up. I got to take the Azure Administrator AZ-104 certification this Wednesday, so I'm going to make a video about that so that way you guys can know what it's all about. But anyway, back to the point. Yesterday I was going to make a Python project on Windows and a whole bunch of errors kept coming up and Python just wouldn't work. So I was like, okay, it's been a long time since I've reset my computer. I might as well go ahead and do that. There's no real files that I needed on here besides videos, so I exported those off to another hard drive and reset Windows. Now, when I get back on Windows, I install Python and then I go to install a package, which is CMake and dlib. I needed those. Use pip to install those, and right off the bat it says, oh, you need a Visual Studio C++ build tools. So I was like, okay, no problem, I'll go download Visual Studio, even though I only really want to use Visual Studio Code. So I head over to visualstudio.microsoft.com and click download, and then it just sits there and doesn't do anything. And finally, after like a whole minute, the download thing pops up in the bottom of my web browser, and it downloads very slowly, I might add. Probably took another 2 minutes to download. And mind you, this is on a 1 gigabit per second internet connection, down and up, so it should be really fast for me. Now, Microsoft could have just been having a bad day, but this certainly still influenced my choice of Windows versus Linux. So once I launched the Visual Studio installer, this actually downloads some more stuff, and it was downloading in the kilobits per second. And I was like, this is pretty much unacceptable. So I left it there for a really long time and it still didn't finish. I was like, okay, I'm just moving everything to Linux. And I switched over to Linux, did a quick sudo pacman-s just to make sure Python was installed properly, pip install cmake dlib. Everything just worked. Now I know that's a common phrase that everybody doesn't like, especially about macOS. It just works, but it did. It worked seamlessly. And I was able to get to developing in about 5 minutes instead of spending an hour getting everything working like I was spending on Windows and still didn't get everything done. Also, utilities like Docker, which I'm starting to experiment with, and Kubernetes work a whole lot better on Linux, and so I just really prefer using Linux for those applications. And now pretty much everything I do, save video editing, runs best on Linux. So that's the main reason why I've switched over to Linux. I use Linux Now, Manjaro Linux with KDE Desktop, the configuration I just showed you guys on my main desktop computer, although I dual boot that with Windows for editing and gaming purposes, although I don't game all that much, honestly. And on my HP laptop, I have that set up. That is just a single boot into Linux because it has everything I need. Like I said before, there's no need to use Windows on there. So anyways, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel if you're not already. Also, please leave a comment down below as to what operating system you prefer and why you prefer it. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. This is SuperTal3 signing out.